In this video, I'm going to show you 5 shots that the pros make look easy, but are actually a little bit harder. I'd even go as far as to say that they are unnoticed or underrated by most competitive club players. Being able to play these shots well could transform your game, I almost promise. For each shot, I'll describe it, demonstrate it, explain why it's important, and show you how to practice it. So, let's go. When the ball is very close to the wall, being able to hit it back consistently and confidently is very, very important. In fact, I think it's one of the most underrated skills. Obviously, you're trying to hit the ball tight all of the time, so that means your opponent is as well. So being able to get the ball back is so important. Now, how do you practice it? Well, in a recent video about ghosting, I talked about a piece of tape and being able to swing and hit the tape. But the next progression is to be able to do it without the tape. So if I take this tape off, I would like you to stand and swing your racket. Now, at the beginning, you're not going to be very close and you're going to be nervous. I understand that. But let me just explain. This is how you break rackets. If the racket hits the wall and doesn't move, the vibration stays in the racket and in your arm. If it scrapes, it has much less effect. So my job, as I practice, is just to kiss the wall. Okay, I'm not doing a great job now. I don't practice very much. That's better. Now, during the match, during a real game, what you ideally want to do is come where your racket is touching the wall for a long distance, not a fraction of a second, because if you time that incorrectly, the ball will go everywhere. But if you can time it so the racket touches the side wall a little bit before the ball, hits the ball and carries straight, you'll have a good chance of hitting it straight. I'm not necessarily saying you'll be able to hit it exactly down the wall. Now, one way to practice it is with a ball, drop it, and then hit it. Now, this ball is really not very hot, so let me go and get a hot ball. Okay, so we're back with a hot ball. Put it on the wall, drop it, and then hit it. Pick it up, put it on the wall, drop it, and then hit it. It will take a few times to get better at it. Now, I call it a skill because you need to judge the distance between the racket head and the ball, but also your body. It's much harder to hit shots when you're very close to the wall. And of course, if I go out of picture, that's even harder. And a small change there makes a difference, but you need to be the right distance. You need to be able to have some ability to move your arm without moving your body to make those fine adjustments. Now, of course, it's the same on the backhand. The backhand, you'll be hitting the ball a little bit in front of you. The forehand, you'll be hitting more or less in line with your belly button, more or less. Backhand will have to be in front of you. Hitting the ball in line with your belly button on your backhand is really hard, so you'll be in front of you. So that will make a small difference. So practice. I don't recommend both sides too much. Yes, to begin with, but after a while, you should be practicing there, just one side. If you really wanted to, you could put some balls on the wall and almost do it like a ghosting exercise. Now, I kind of broke my rule there, didn't I? Which one, Philip? The one about taking a big swing. You actually should be using shorter swings to push the ball. But I'm pretty confident about swinging in this situation, but you might not be, so be careful. A more realistic way to practice it is for you to stand in the service box, hit shots quite high and quite soft. You're not trying to hit them hard and low, and get it as tight as possible. And just try to hit tight shots. Not hard, not worried about how hard you're hitting, just trying. There's one. That's it. So this drill has two benefits. One, it practices actually hitting the ball tight, and when you do that, you then get a chance to hit it back. You won't hit every single one tight, but the more you practice it, the better you'll get. The better you'll get at adjusting the space, the better you'll get at being able to swing and hit the ball high. Obviously, you need to do for both sides. Now, a pairs drill would require player 1 to be standing at the front, player 2 to be standing here. Player 2 is playing soft volleys. Player 1 is here trying to hit the ball to a good length and trying to keep it as tight as possible. Player 2 is trying to stop the ball getting past them. You can score it, you can make it competitive, but really it's about adjusting the distance, keeping the swing and feeling confident that you can hit the ball without hitting your racket against the wall. So to summarize, when the ball is tight to the wall, reduce your swing, get the right distance through practice so that you have some adjustment in your arm without having to move your body. Swing upwards. Make the part of the swing that is close to the wall go parallel to the wall just for a little bit. Not a circular motion, but a parallel motion. Don't swing too hard. Recognize that it's defense and hit high. Here's one that tennis players will be able to play. It's called the topspin half volley. A player hits the ball short, hard and low, and all you want to do is come over the top. It's quite hard to slice it. You could hit it flat, but often we just come over the top. We do it because it bounces and the ball is coming upwards, so our racket face when we make contact with the ball is something like this. Our objective is to play the ball short, not too low, but to rush them, something like this. Now that looks very easy for me, but if I'm on the tee and the player hits it hard and I can step across and I can push this little ball, and I use the word push because all I'm really doing is look at the motion from here. You see how it carries on in a straight line. It's not like this. That would be a normal swing. If I'm swinging, it goes like this. But here, the racket head goes in a straight line. And that means that if I hit it a little bit early, if I hit it a little bit late, I should still be hitting the ball straight. Almost exactly like the shot that when the ball is touching the wall, kissing the wall. So I'm here, I step across, doesn't matter whether it's right foot or left foot. You get low, you keep your racket almost like a tennis player would, and you just push it. You'll need to practice, of course you will. It's a little bit difficult to practice on your own, so it's one of those ones that you can practice with a partner. Person at front hits the ball hard, you push it. Hits the ball hard, you push it. And you just keep like that. Obviously the same on the backhand, but let me be honest with you, the backhand is a little bit harder for squash players. If you've been a tennis player, then maybe you'll be able to do that, especially if you're a one-handed tennis player. You might be able to get that topspin working. Or if you've been a table tennis player, that motion is very similar to a table tennis shot. So backhands tend to be less common for amateur players because it doesn't seem like a natural motion. You've been told for thousands of hours by coaches and other players that you need to move and rotate your forearm, and you've got to cock your wrist, you've got to keep your racket face open. And now here I am, I'm telling you to be breaking your wrist, in fact, and playing over the top of the ball. So that backhand can be a little bit harder. But it's incredibly useful if a player is hitting the ball hard and is not moving well, and you're able to hit it, but you just don't have enough time to hit a proper swing. Well, a shortened swing, and again, I'll show you from the side of the camera, that's all I'm doing. The ball bounces, boom. Let's see if I can do some demonstrations with the camera much lower. The next shot I want to talk about is being able to hit the ball right into the back corner from the middle. We spend so much time hitting the ball up and down the wall from here, but we never spend enough time hitting the ball into the corner from here. Because we need to estimate the angle. So this shot is playing the ball, not necessarily from the complete middle, but definitely between halfway between the service box edge and the center line, somewhere around there, and practicing the angle. Now it's important because we're not pros. We're not hitting the ball up and down the wall this tight all the time. We're playing and the ball comes out here. And what generally happens is that we either hit the angle too close to the sidewall and then it comes back in the middle, or we don't get the angle right and it comes back down to us. Now, it's easy for me to stand here and hit something like that, but even that was a little bit short. So the way to practice is a few shots here. Okay, no problem. Let me take that ball. Start here maybe, up and down the wall. See if you can get it straight. And then from here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Took it second bounce right in the nick. It looked like it was going to come out. So, whoops, sorry. So 1, down the middle. 2 down the middle. 3 into the corner. And of course, it's the same on the other side. So let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so here we are on the other side. And you've probably noticed that I did on the forehand, I put the target. And I think that that's a really good thing. This is a target that stops the rally, but it's the same idea. 1, down the middle. 2 down the middle. Okay, the ball's got a little bit cold, but let me overhit it. And then, okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm looking for the ball to hit the sidewall at the back of the service box, or ideally a little bit further. If it hits too early, something like this, that's then going to play into your opponent, who can come in and cut a shot like that. You want to be able, when they have hit it down here and they're on the tee, you want to be able to get them right in the back corner. So you can do this, you can practice these in, length games and real matches, but the only way to really practice it is to hit up and down the wall and pay attention to where it hits the front wall. For those who really want to know, if you make contact with the ball here and you want it to go right into the corner, it needs to hit the front wall in exactly half the place. I paused there because I really want you to think about that. I make contact here. I want it to go there. Wherever is half, that's where my target would be. Obviously a little bit higher. Now that you say to me, but Philip, I can't do geometry in my head when I'm playing. Well, you're right, you can't. But over time, you get better and better at estimating the angle that you need to hit it. I promise you, you've probably been hitting these or something similar, and the moment you start hitting those, you'll make it so much harder for your opponent. Pay attention to what happens the next time you play them. This next shot requires strength. The others in this particular video don't require any particular strength. They need skill, but this one requires strength. And this is the very high backhand. Now, why is it harder than the forehand? Well, in general, bringing your arms into your body is a much easier motion. You are much stronger than when you're taking your arms out. So on the forehand, you're essentially bringing your arm in. So you get up here and you hit it, no problem. On the backhand, okay, that's much, much harder. This requires practice. So when does it happen? Well, it happens when your opponent lobs the ball. If you can leave it, maybe that's a good thing, probably not. But most of the time you want to hit it. And if I try to hit one, Okay, that's not too high. I need to feed it much higher. Okay, it's very static, it's very sterile. It wasn't a bad shot, it was a bit short. But it happens when your opponent hits the ball high, or perhaps when it's a service return. And what we tend to do is we tend to hit it cross court because we feel that if I hit it straight and it comes back at me, I'm going to be in the way. And that's a sensible thinking. But it means that your opponent sees that when the ball is up there, it's probably going to be a cross court. If you are able to hit the ball down the wall, that would make a huge difference. So how do you practice it? Well, the first thing you do is you do shadow swings. A shadow swing, in case you don't know, is swinging without the ball. Ghosting is moving around the court without the ball. Shadow swinging is swinging without the ball. And you do it to improve your strength in some particular areas and also to improve your technique. And what you're trying to do is practice making contact with the ball almost with a straight arm and racket, because you're assuming that the ball is so high. Bang. You want to make contact about here, and when I say about here, this is just in front of my head. If I do it from this angle, that's where I'm trying. If it's further back, I'm probably going to mishit it. If it's further forward, I'm not making contact high enough. Now, I'm a little bit tired just from doing some of these. So how many do you do? Well, start with 10 a day. Do that for a couple of weeks, and then maybe move it up to 20. It's not as fast as you can. It is just about swinging and blocking, and I want to emphasize this. When you come to hit the ball, you're not trying to smack it. I'm not suggesting you go for a cross-court nick. I'm suggesting that you block it, boom. See where my racket finished? Boom. The ball goes back down the wall. You can practice it on your own. Let me get the ball. Got the ball. But I'll be honest with you, it's actually quite hard to practice because you need to get the ball high. And look, I can't even, well, not that I'm a great player, but that's hard. That's hard. And see, suddenly, my shots start to come out in the middle. And that's because I'm hitting it too early. High, Philip. Better. Okay, good. Woo. So, you can practice it on your own, but don't spend too long. It's a difficult physical movement, and you shouldn't be doing it for too much. I know that it doesn't seem like an interesting or a particularly difficult shot, but the moment you're stretching, the moment you don't have balance is the moment that you go cross-court and you've lost an opportunity to make your opponent doubt where you're going to hit the ball. So practice the high volleys. Why am I whispering? I don't know. Okay, so with a partner. Well, I don't have a partner, so you're just going to have to imagine the same as I am. Player number one starts at the front and would hit a high cross-court. You probably guess what player number two is going to do. Player number two is going to hit a high straight volley. Player number one comes back into the corner and boasts the ball. Player number two comes up here and hits a high cross-court lob. Player number one hits a straight drive, the volley, the straight volley. So you're alternating, so that's good, you're not doing too many of those. It's a great practice. Now, if you want to change it, what you can do is that player number two, when they hit the volley, they can leave it come back to themselves and then hit the boast. And player number one, when the boast comes in, can practice a drop and then a lob. Not like that though. So you don't have to do all of the moving, and generally you'd start with that one first, but most people don't like it because it's a little bit static. The next shot that I'd like to talk to you about, and I've already made a whole video about this in my one-shot series, is hitting the ball straight after it's hit the sidewall. It is an incredibly difficult shot, and honestly, it's one of the things that I use to judge a player's standard. If I watch a player and I see that when the ball hits the sidewall, they can hit it straight like that, I say, okay, this player has skill. So how does it work? Well, or let's say, where would you play it? Well, maybe you're on the tee, your opponent hits a cross court, it's hit the wall. What many people do is they go across thinking, yeah, I'm going to volley this, but then they think, uh-oh, maybe not. Because if I can't get it before it hits the wall, I'm in trouble. And then they come back, and then maybe they have to play the ball after it's hit the bounce, and they've lost the opportunity to take the initiative. When the ball hits the wall, it does a few things. It changes its spin, a little bit, but not much. It changes its speed, and it changes its angle. If it changes its speed, it's probably going to go a little bit lower, but you don't really know exactly by how much, because that depends on the angle. If it hits at a very obtuse, acute angle, then it's probably going to slow down more than if it just hits at a very obtuse angle. Lots of geometry today. So, the simple key, and let me move the camera. Okay, so here we are now. The simple way to think about it is the sooner you can make contact with the ball, the less effect the spin, the speed, and the angle changes have to affect it. So my job is to try and sidewall hit, sidewall hit, sidewall hit, no, sidewall hit, hit just before it gets the sidewall? Yeah, maybe. I mean, if you can make contact before it hits the sidewall, yeah, that's pretty nice, but not if you're hesitant or if you have doubts in your ability. You've got to be confident. Hit the sidewall, bang, hit it. Now, ideally, you'd be hitting straight because the ball has come across the court, so your opponent is on the other side of the court. If they've hit it from a different angle, well, that's okay. Comes across the court, bam, you hit it. I'll try again. Terrible. See how that came back at me? I don't have the confidence. I haven't practiced enough. One more time. That's a bit better. So how do you practice it? To practice it on your own, I invented a drill called the figure of 4. So it's like the figure of 8, but only half. What happens is you stand here, you hit one shot straight, boom, one cross court, but so that you can play it from here. You're playing the cross court to hit the side wall, and then from that side wall, you hit it straight. Let me try and demonstrate. I missed the cross court there, didn't I? Straight, cross court. Yes. Now, if after you've hit the ball, you've done a great job and it's really tight, we'll hit another straight shot. I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes and let's practice it from here. It's not an easy drill. I haven't done a fantastic job of demonstrating it, or even a good job of demonstrating it, but you will have to practice it, and you will get better. Now, an alternative, and I'm just going to move the camera again, is the figure of 8 with a straight shot. So, here we go, figure of 8, straight. Now, of course, that's not touching the sidewall, but the ability to hit the ball when it's coming across, the ability to hit the ball straight from a cross court is fundamental to be able to do it when the ball is tight to the wall. So that is definitely an intermediate one. But what about if you're practicing with somebody else? Well, don't have anybody else. I could, let me move the camera one more time. I would stand here, my opponent would stand on the other side, and honestly, it's one of my favorite drills. I just stand here, you could stand a bit further forward, and I would hit one straight, and if it's tight like that, I would hit a second one straight. One straight, one cross court. Now, my objective with the cross court is to hit it so it hits the sidewall here, causing my opponent or my practice partner as many problems as possible. And if you wanted, you could score it. You could actually make a game. Not let any ball that bounces in front of the short line is out. Any ball that's out is out. So you start here, one, cross court. They hit it, one straight to themselves, one cross court. Boy, I missed it. 1 point to them. It's fun to do it with a score. So those are ways to practice it, and I have to reiterate, It is not as easy as it seems, but with practice you will begin to get more confidence and you will begin to feel that you can hit it straight from a cross court, whether the cross court is direct or whether it's indirect in the sense that it hits the sidewall. So how do you practice it with a partner? Well, there's two versions. Player number one stands here and hits a straight drive, followed by a boast, hopefully better than that. Player number two will either hit a cross court or a drop and then a cross court. That cross court is aimed for here. So when the ball comes across, hits the sidewall, that's the kind of shot that you're trying. Gosh, I wish I could do that in matches. And then you don't let it go to the back. You hit the ball, boom, and then you boast. Now, if you want a little bit of movement, player number one hits the straight volley, goes to the back. Player number two comes into the back and hits a boast, boom. Player number two is up here and hits a cross court, aiming for high on the sidewall. Player number one then hits their straight volley. Okay, so again, boast, different players, remember, drop or cross court aiming for here. Next player hits the wall, straight shot. Player who hit the cross court comes along here and either can hit a straight drive to keep the rally going for a bit or put the boast in immediately. Now, if you want to make it into more of a dynamic situation, you can play up and down the wall. One player is allowed to boast, and that boast has to be hit cross court, not a lob, not a hard low one, but aiming for this area above the service box, and then you get to practice your straight drive. Let me know if you have any doubts or questions. Watch this video if you want to learn how to stop your opponent from anticipating your shots, and remember, do something every single day to improve your squash. See ya.